Where we're at in the story right now, I'd say it's very power system heavy, where we're getting a lot to know about advanced hockey and awakenings. I'd say the flow of the story so far, the first half was more about devil fruits, the second half is more about hockey, and where we're at in the saga where we're dealing with Yonko, it's a mix of both having awakenings and having hockey. I believe if you don't have a devil fruit, I think you need to have the advanced version of hockey, probably specifically advanced conquerors, in order to compete with top tiers and at that high level. And if you're more of a devil fruit heavy dependent fighter, probably more like a Law or a Luffy, I think that having advanced versions wouldn't hurt, and that's probably your best bet in fighting. And not to say Luffy specifically, I just thought about him because of how he implements his gears, but Luffy can fight without his devil fruit. I just want to clarify that. But we did get a little bit about awakenings in chapter 1030 with Law and Kid, which I'll talk about them when I get to the Paramecia section. But I do believe that this is a headcanon of mine, that we got introduced, or the idea of devil fruit awakenings were brought up by Crocodile and Alabasta, his fight round 2 versus Luffy. We have Water Luffy. Crocodile talks about how when you train with your devil fruit more and more, you can use it in different ways. And then we see him use, I believe it might have been Desert Sparta or Spada or something along those lines. He used an attack where he's able to suck the moisture out of his hand without the little hook. And so he sucks the water out of the ground and he sucks the water out of Luffy. We've only seen about 5 users be awakened. The 4 jailers are Impel Down, Doflamingo, Katakuri, Law, and Kid. And Devil Fruit Awakenings, pretty much it allows you to amplify your Devil Fruit, and it significantly increases their abilities. We've yet to understand why and how Devil Fruits can be awakened. I think we might get more detail with Luffy since he is the main character. It'll probably showcase how it's done. Or because we saw the time skip, how Luffy traded Rayleigh over and over, and we saw a glimpse of that, and then we get flashbacks here and there with Gear 4, Snake Man, Future Sight, etc. So maybe Law and Kid, it only makes sense or logical sense to me that they got their awakenings during the time skip. But this might be a little bit of a plot hole. I'm not very sure, because Law, he stated that he can only use his in a dire situation where he thinks he's on the brink of death. But at the same time, when he fought against Doflamingo, he didn't use it, and he lost his arm and was getting worked. So I don't understand why he didn't use it there if he had all this time. Or I would like to know when specifically Law got his awakening, because Kid, he probably could have had it since we didn't follow him for most of the post time skip. He probably had it for a long time, but like I said, Law, it's a little bit spotty, so I would just like to know when he got his. Devil Fruit Awakenings, it allows for the Devil Fruit user to have more significant power, more refined use of the Devil Fruit, more control, new abilities. And when you don't have your awakening mastered, it does consume a lot of stamina, as stated by Law and Kid. But let's start off with the awakening zones. Like I said, we saw them in Impel Down. It grants more power, speed, durability, and a faster recovery time. And the only caveat with this is that they lose their ability to think critically and have loss of intelligence, which is why we speculate as the One Piece community that Chopper might be an awakened zone Devil Fruit user, because he was able, once he mastered his Devil Fruit more during the time skip, he was able to use more of his points without having to use the Rumble Ball. And then when he used the Rumble Ball, well, pre-time skip, he would lose control on himself and he would gain more strength, more speed, more durability. However, he would lose intelligence, just like what we presume the Impel Down guards or jailers did. And now during the post-time skip, he's trained where he can use the monster point for a set time and that he has control over it. So that's why we speculate him to be an awakened zone Devil Fruit user. Then there's the Beast Pirates. We speculate they might get back up, which is why Mr. Morris doesn't, well, one of the reasons he doesn't think the raid will succeed. And so if they get up, we know that awaken, or well, we know that ancient zones have a lot of durability. The Toby Ropa, specifically Ulti, specifically Queen of the All-Stars, and King and Jack as well, but I want to highlight Queen because I feel like Queen takes the most damage. And then Kaido, all of them have showcased great durability feats, and to me, Kaido versus Luffy right now, as of chapter 1036, is a slugfest. They're going back and forth, and Luffy, to me, he's keeping up with Kaido in his hybrid, which is his strongest form, a little bit too easily. So I think Kaido, he has much more up his sleeve, because logically it wouldn't make sense for him to be beaten by Luffy in a form that I know Luffy has gained Conqueror's coding and Rio, but at the same time it just doesn't make sense for Kaido to be beaten this easily in Luffy with base at this point in the series. Then there's Paramecia's. Their awakenings are a bit different. We thought that they were able to manipulate the things around them. Specifically, Doflamingo, he could turn other objects into strings. Katakuri, he could create other objects with Mochi. But then we got Law and Kid. Law, he has Krum, where he's able to basically, I believe it says send shockwaves from within, basically making a room within the body or within the object that he's implementing Krum on. And then Kid, it allows him to assign an object to be able to magnetize. It gives an object magnetism, which is why at first whenever we talked about awakenings, we were like, oh, Luffy, he's just gonna be like Katakuri. Well, because in that fight, him and Katakuri, they were almost the same in how they attacked, and we were like, oh, he'll be like Dofi, but that might not be the case. Luffy could very well be like Law and Kid, because Oda likes to portray the three as rivals, so he could have an ability just like theirs. It could be in the form of his gears, it could be faster regen, he could be able to bend the rubber around him like in space or stuff like that, and he might be able to turn the object into rough rubber just like Doflamingo and Katakuri. And then the non-canon Devil Fruit awakenings, we have Guilt to Zoro. He's able to sense everything around him that's been in contact with gold. And then we have Douglas Bullet. He's able to disassemble and restructure entire terrain into constructs that he sees fit. And I'm going to bring up the quote from Dofi talking about awakenings. Listen closely, boy. There's another stage entirely to the powers of a Devil Fruit awakening. It's very rare, but some powers can awaken and affect objects aside from the wielder. And even Luffy's struggling to understand the concept, because he's talking about it's almost as if Dofi's no longer a Paramecia. And lastly, we're going to talk about Logias. We have yet to see a Logia use an awakening. However, we speculate they probably could and probably do turn the terrain around them into their element of the Logia. I think the best example, or the most we've seen, is probably Akainu and Aokiji, how they turn Punk Hazard into a hot terrain and a cold terrain. And also you could possibly say that Ace, when he went to Drum Island, how that island never stopped snowing, and when Ace came, because he has the Mera no Mi, or he turned the island into a warmer climate and stopped it from snowing. But that's all we know about awakenings. I think they're very cool and they're very unique. I think all the emperors that have Devil Fruit should have awakenings. To me, that only makes sense. I think the admirals, pretty much anybody who's first commander, top tier, or I'd say even like a really dangerous opponent, like a Lucci, well, I guess back in the day, like a Lucci, a Doflamingo, a Katakuri, somebody that has that overwhelming presence. To me, it only makes logical sense that they were to have an awakening. So I hope Kaido, Big Mom, and eventually Luffy and Blackbeard as well, I hope that they get awakenings. But let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell so you guys never miss a new video from me. Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat is on the screen in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to unleash your potential.